Guys, last game of the week is the Force versus the Brumbies. For the Brums, I think Ryan McCauley, for the Force, I think Ryan McCauley will be out. It looked like he had a pretty bad left shoulder or left pec injury. No real word on exactly how bad that is yet. Manasseh Mataele was the wounded man with his hands strapped and his pirate eye covered as well after getting kicked in the head as well. So we think he'll be back because all that stuff, I assume, will just settle through the week and he'll train lightly. But obviously a big one for them if they do lose him. I know that there was some concern about Kiribiji when he was playing that he might have been injured, not at 100, but apparently he just took a cork in the first half. He was able to run through it, so they weren't too worried about him. So I'd say you'll see him back again. And then for the Brums, I think Nick White, I think there's no chance, surely no chance he plays. The bloke looked like he couldn't breathe and he was about to pass out for about 30 minutes after he got hit in the chest. And that was about 5 minutes after he looked like he had an ankle sprain or a high ankle sprain as well. He was the walking wounded. He wishes he was Matt Ayala at the end of that game.
It was a real concern. Watching him, I thought he should have been going to hospital with how he looked. But look, I think an interesting one for the Brumbies here for me is we haven't seen Valentini have a rest in a very, very long time.
Yeah, you can't rest Valentini, man. Every week, let him go again.
Let the boy play.
So, you haven't heard it anywhere else. You heard it here first. I reckon Valentini is going to get a rest, and we're going to see Tom Hooper get a crack in that 6 jersey. The other name that could be thrown in, Harry, is Charlie Cale, who he looked good when he had a crack. But I think Tom Hooper is a leader in the line out for them and a really, really good player. So I think he'll have a crack.
Yeah, I mean, it's been since round 5 as the last rest for Valentini. So he's only had one rest, which means he's absolutely due another one either this week or before the season ends.
Yep, I've picked it, mate. I told you.
Yep, very good. Speaking of resting in the forwards, what about James Slipper and Alan Alatoa? How are they going on rests and with the like? I'm not sure when the last time they had a rest was, but and I'm not saying this is necessarily the game to do it. I'm just thinking that I feel like I've seen them playing weekend.
I think same thing for Slips. It was round 5.
I think Alatoa might have had a rest more recently than that. All I know is
he's actually longer again, mate. He's round 3 and 4.
He's been having a rest on my fantasy side. That's what he's been having. I might be getting.
But yeah, so we could see them sit on the bench or have a full rest.
I don't think the Brums will feel like they can afford to make mass changes against the Force. Like I think that They know every week. I think they've got the Chiefs and then the Rebels to finish the year. I think they might make a couple of small tweaks, 1 or 2 changes at most.
That's it.
I just don't think they'll feel like they can make rest all their big guns.
But we're only talking a couple of changes. I think Valentini definitely needs one, and you've just listed 2 props that definitely need one. So you're going to have to give
White as well, though, mate. They're down Nick White.
I was going to say, I hope they don't do what they did with the Crusaders when they just waited for the game they thought they weren't going to win and rested their entire team. So if they do, I hope they don't do that for the Chiefs. Just go, we'll rest everyone against the Chiefs. We'll give that game up.
I reckon they don't rest a soul against the Chiefs. They can win. They can win it and get a home final, mate. They're not going to rest a single person. So it's going to be this week, or it's going to be the Rebels. So I think that's where your couple rests are going to be split.
All right, Caden Neville, where's he been around? Has he been injured or he's been rested for a bit?
Yeah, no idea. Nothing has been posted. I get this. I'm suspicious that he's injured. Put it that way, but no word whatsoever.
Okay, he's got to be. Yeah, Nelson nailed it. I think we're all excited to see Tom Hooper get in there, but otherwise, they've got a few extra back rowers. Lukey Reimer, Rory Scott, another name. I think is he still out? Or has he just been?
Again, we don't know if it's been more a case of Jerome Brown being fit, so therefore they've decided to actually give him the extended run. But they seem to have just disappeared. They've dropped him from the squad for the last few weeks, and no reason as to why whatsoever.
And so, all right, and I guess in terms of the outside backs, the only real changes, so obviously Ryan Lonergan to start at halfback. Not sure who will be on the bench behind him. And Tamati Tua perhaps in at 12 for Ollie Sapsford. We might see that.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, Ollie Sapsford did quite well and got his hands free and a brilliant offload to set up a try last week, and has been really, really good. But I just want to see more of Tamati Tua. If I'm honest, it's not against Sapsford. It's in favour of Tua. He's really sort of grown with a couple of opportunities, and I want to see him on the field.
Yep.
Well, I've got a huge one for you. The Force, I think they're 5 in a row in Western Australia right now.
Yeah.
The Fortress, mate.
Yeah, I think this is a big game for the Brums to get over there and actually beat them. Can that streak be challenged? Like they really are making it a spiritual home and a real hard hurdle to get over. At least it's not the hardest for the Brums.
You go, Nelson.
The Force are there this is a couple of weeks in a row as well. But look, they've got a win over the Ndrua. They've got a win over the Highlanders. They've got a win over Moana Pacifica and Reds and Rebels. That's their last 5. So you'd probably say they're the lowest 5 in the last 12 months in terms of quality. And it's a big step up to then be able to challenge the Brumbies. So this is where, they can claim this is a real fortress. If they can beat the Brumbies, there is no arguing that it's a real fortress.
You've just completely changed my tip with that line. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I was going to say, mate, they're not beating the Brumbies, but look, talking about the Force, let's get on to the Force then. I think Max Bury's been pretty solid. Steering the ship around.
I quite like him. He's taken it to the line a couple of times, sometimes by choice, sometimes just by necessity. But he's got a very, very good kick on him. You can tell he's had a couple years more to actually mature than some of these other young players that got thrown in the 10 jersey really early. He's only just slightly older than Ben Donalds, and there was already reports going, this needs to be looked into how the Waratahs let this guy go. I mean, I can tell you Ben Donaldson, Will Harrison, and Tane Edmed, plus some other young guys coming through, they've got big names. But Max Bury, I think, looks like he is quite a good, solid 10. And I hope he gets a good run for them throughout the back end of the year.
And he'd been forming quite a good partnership with Hamish Stewart. They'd been leaning on him quite heavily, and apparently, I don't know if they're flatting together, but they're best mates off the field, and just Stewart providing a lot of assistance, helping him guide the team around the park, which has been really good. All right, if we don't see the Pirate, Manasa Mataeli on the wing, we'll Kibarigi on 1, and do we finally see Rupeni Mataeli come back on the... No. Tony Pulu?
Who knows? Because Tony Pulu had that really sickening concussion a couple of weeks back. They said he'll miss several weeks. So obviously they picked that as bad early, but he may well be back and fit as well. It's just, there's so many, there's no resting policy in their outside backs or in their wings, but you'd swear there was from the way their season's been going. Like, there's only ever been 2 or 3 fit. So I think by default, if Mataeli is out, Tony Pulu will be fit.
Yeah. Just by the way the season's going, I'd back that as well. I'm surprised Nelson hasn't spoken about Sam Spink yet, just about how good he's been. Maybe it's because he's no longer in your fantasy team, Nels. But Sam Spink was also, has been one of probably the form player in the back line for the Force.
Don't mind Sam Spink versus Len Ikitau this weekend. He was probably the player that we thought he was kind of in the mould of. Obviously, Len Ikitau, just an exceptional test player as well. But Spink's got a bit of Ikitau about him, that just, like that overs line that he likes to run, solid palm, smart in defense. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I hope they get to run at each other a few times.
Yeah, I think Spink's a lot bigger. He's a bigger bloke.
Ikitau plays big, mate.
He does. He does play big.
Ikitau looks like he's grown an extra inch or 2 in the last couple of weeks, if we're honest. And he's actually seeming more mature and more dominant in contact. But yeah, Ikitau's 180. Sam Spink's huge compared to him. He's 182 Kagi. So I think he's got a few kgs on him as well. But no, they're pretty similar molds. Harry and I were chatting about on the weekend.
Yeah, no, he's short, but he's heavy. Sam Spink, he's a big boy.
He's 102 kgs. He's a bit chunky.
He is.
And we surely Medrano's back. I assume that was just a rest last week, right? Like, I think that's pretty huge for them. If they can go Tom Robertson, Falafanga, and Santiago Medrano, that goes a long way to nullifying the Brumbies scrum. And then the only question is, how the hell do they defend against the Brumbies rolling maul, which I don't think they have a good answer for, to be completely honest. But that takes a big weapon away.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say that there won't be any issues, I think, competing at scrum time. But yeah, the rolling maul. I mean, I thought the Force have been had a really good line out all season as well. So hope maybe they'll get up and contest.
Jeremy Williams and Felix Kalapu have been stealing a lot of balls, so I think it's not a bad tactic. But how many times can you roll that dice as well? I think they're just going to have some really solid D anywhere within probably 35 metres, because the Brums are just way too deadly.
It'll be all about discipline, and Tizano making 90,000 tackles and steals this game. He hasn't missed one yet, Desano. So hopefully he keeps that up.
If Falafanga starts, how many times do you think he's calling for the rolling maul attempt against the Brumbies?
Oh, mate, they'll be 30 meters out. He'll be like,
he'll be kicking to touch himself.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. We'll see him starting the 50-22s. You know what I mean? He's out there a couple of extra hours at training during the week. Just
That's right.
How good. All right. Well, how do we see this one going? I'll go ahead and pull the trigger on this. I'm going to say the Brumbies are going to win this game. Going to break the 5-game streak at the HBF Fortress. But not by heaps. You know, I think the Brumbies, whilst, you know, they eventually put on some points at the end of the last game, I don't think the Force will fall off, hopefully, in the same way. So I'll say Brumbies by... I'm still going to go Brumbies by 12, but yeah.
Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Brumbies by 16. I love the Force. Brumbies building towards the back end of the year. I think they'll get it done. They're building in the back end of that last game, to me, showed that, you know, they've got another level if they need it, and we're going to see it more and more in the back few weeks.
Brumbies by 10, few rests, going to make it a bit harder for them, and I think the Force at home, they do grow an extra leg as well, so it's going to be a Brumbies win, but the Force won't let it go easy.